All right, Candice, you're live.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. It is 5 p.m. and
Can
it
you
is
hear me?
now time for Whose Opinion Is It Anyway? With Candice.
And Victor.
And we have a special guest with us today, Michael Harris. He decided to join us again this week.
All
Uh-oh.
right. How's everybody doing? Is everybody staying safe? I'm sure.
Hey, we're doing well. I got a question to ask you in a few minutes, Mike.
Okay.
A few weeks ago, that group that you talked about was in Michigan with that march, right?
Absolutely.
The Proud Boys.
Absolutely. The Proud Boys. You know who the Proud Boys are. Absolutely. I've been telling you they're hanging out doing their thing. I'm still moving a little bit, everybody, so I'm trying to get settled. Yeah, the Proud Boys are Trump's brown shirts.
Uh-huh.
They're Trump's brown shirts, and this is what they do. They get in, they get Trump together, and Trump is their buddy. They are the enforcers for Trump and company.
Wow.
Yeah. This is where we're at. What we're dealing with right now in this country is the politicization. Is that the right word to say? Politics and health. Now, we've always had it with the healthcare system. True. We know what's happening with us.
True.
But people are actually taking lives and taking sides when it comes to the health of the nation. What is going on here? Is he that important to everybody? Is he that important to Mitch McConnell, who said this is a blue state giveaway when you're talking about saving lives? Because we in the blue states just got more people, so it becomes a blue state giveaway. What is going on here? I'm sorry. I apologize, y'all. I ain't ready to start trouble yet.
We're sorry, Candice. Take it away.
No, you guys are fine. I was waiting for someone. If you notice, I'm in a mask because I'm obeying executive orders. I had to get out. Had to go grab my 1-year-old little, I guess, cousin / godchild, and so I needed to come grab her from where she was. And so as we were trying to load her stuff into my vehicle, I'm trying to keep a mask on while we get her settled away. But and I think we're all done. And obviously I can't drive now, but I just think that, and just to start a little bit about what you all were talking about, just a little bit of Michigan news really quickly, is the fact that we have had our stay home, stay safe order. It's been extended until May 15th. And I think, and again, the show is called Whose Opinion Is It Anyway? And in my opinion, I think that was a good call. Because as we're looking at the numbers, we're still seeing pretty high numbers, even in daily cases, even in daily deaths. We have over 30,000 cases here in the state of Michigan, confirmed cases. We have over 2,000 deaths here, and then just daily, we're still very high up in that number for both confirmed cases and deaths. So we extended, the governor extended our stay safe, stay home order, which was originally supposed to expire on April 30th. If you recall, our House and Senate here in the state of Michigan, they voted and they extended it to the 30th a little earlier this month. And so now she's extended it until May 15th, just to kind of give us a little leeway. However, it's extended, but it's extended with there are some things that have opened back up, if you will. She's done a wave instead of like the phases or whatever. She's done a wave of people, and I know you recall some of the protests that we had here, Vic, back last week, and then they protested again the other day, except for they went to the governor's mansion.
Oh, really? Really?
Yeah, they went to the governor's mansion.
Group. The same
group?
Group?
Yeah, except for this time they had to adhere to social distancing, and so they were only able to do so much. And so now they're able to golf. They can golf as long as they stay 6 feet apart. They can, yes, they can get on their boats. They can go be on their boats now. Certain stores and stuff can be open. I just think, my God.
In Michigan, Candice? In Michigan?
In Michigan, yeah. And so I'm actually going to do a live little video about this later to break it down to people. I normally don't go live on Friday nights, but I'm going to go live tonight to break this down for people at 9 p.m. about what this extended order means and what are some of the things that, you know, they're able to do now. I think it's crazy though, because I saw a lot of people go, well, I can finally get my grass cut. And I was thinking you could have cut your lawn this entire time. This entire time the governor has said, you know, get out there, you stay away from people that are not in your household. And, you know, so I just think it's kind of weird. I also think reading is fundamental, but, you know, that's a whole other conversation. But yeah, Vic, so we have that order extended to the 15th here in Michigan. And one of the things that I find very interesting is the people that are responsible for the protest here in Michigan, at least, is being paid for by the DeVos family. And I'm just thinking, the Secretary of Education.
Interesting.
Yeah. These are the people they don't call them grassroots. These are turf warriors. And what they do is they have these companies, these organizations, these PACs, political affairs committee, who pay them to show up. So listen, I say this, I try to say this to everybody I touch. Just look at these people as the people who will be at Trump rallies.
Okay.
They can't go to the rallies right now, and so they just show up wherever Trump tells them to show up. But what more importantly is we've got a president who is activating anarchists. He's activating anarchists right now. And do we really want to deal with a president who is activating his brown shirts and his anarchists? If right now Joe Biden had people going around saying, stay in the house and yelling and screaming in front of people's houses saying, stay in the house, they would call them anarchists.
True,
you know,
true.
These people are dangerous right now. And
let me ask you guys a question. What do you think the Democratic Party's response could be or should be to what Mike is making reference to now with these groups?
Well, I mean, I think they've got to put out more commercials. I think having commercials for Biden is fine, but we've got to have commercials that knock down Trump's nonsense, right?
Okay.
Trump keeps talking this craziness. We've got to have plenty of commercials to give out good information.
But you want to know what is interesting, even in that question, Vic, and even in what Mike is saying, you have the president of the United States, to me, do something that I feel was very negligent, was to publicly ask his advisors about looking into injecting people with cleaners, or to look into somehow running UV lights across people or getting it inside of people somehow. And he was very serious when he was talking to his advisors. He turned and everything. And then when they pressed him about it today during his press conference in the Oval Office, he goes, I was clearly being sarcastic. And it's like, at this point, this behavior has to stop. It's unacceptable. Because if you recall, there was a couple in Arizona. When he said that this other drug that he was touting was the miracle cure, they took something and the husband ended up dead, and the wife ended up in critical condition because they went off of his word. And so my thing is, although you would think you don't have to tell people, do not inject yourself with Lysol or do not inject yourself with bleach, you got to keep in mind people were just eating Tide Pods not that long ago. So this kind of behavior is negligent. Like you can't. Go ahead.
Well, look, we're talking about the president of the United States of America. No matter what, his words carry weight.
Absolutely.
True. There are people who are going to sit back and say, I believe everything the president says. And even if they don't believe him, the president says I should be taking A, B, or C. And they're going to go out and try to do it. This is the president saying, and this man has never been responsible. He says he doesn't even take responsibility for this tragedy.
Right.
But he's never been responsible for anybody or anything in his life except for money, him earning money. So he has no understanding, doesn't care about even the craziness that he spouts. He's getting his words just like any crazy would from Alex Jones and all of these right-wing nuts. They're even going around telling people that the 5G network causes coronavirus and all this craziness. Like, we don't even have 5G network in our community, so how are we getting it, right, in the black community? I don't have 5G yet. How am I getting coronavirus as black folks from this 5G network?
I think another thing that they're going to have to take back too is the assertion that it's affecting black people at a more alarming rate, because what we're seeing now is that as the numbers begin to, and they've not like completely dropped, but as you see less numbers of increase in the cities, which is more likely going to have more Black people, more likely to live in the city, as you see those numbers kind of, I don't want to use the word drop because they're still pretty high in the cities, you're starting to see an increase in the rural areas. So the reason, and I think a lot of the protesting and stuff, they were willing to protest this because as far as they were concerned, this was touted as, oh, it's affecting Black people, it's affecting Black people. But now we see that what it was you had that it was just slowly spreading out to those areas. And now it's going out to those rural areas, and those numbers are increasing. And so I want to see if there's going to still be the same amount of, if they're still going to be as cavalier about it as they've been. Or if the protests are still going to be let me out. Because again, in rural areas, the difference between cities and rural areas are city hospitals have a different capacity for care than rural areas. And so the question remains now, especially since the governor has told people it's okay for you to travel to your other residents here in Michigan. You got to keep in mind a lot of those people's other residences are in the UP, and the UP does not have a system designed to handle thousands of sick people. And so now we got to wonder what's going to happen there, what that's going to look like. And again, what the attitude toward this virus is going to be once those numbers start to shoot up in the rural areas.
Well, I mean, there's another part of this too. They will find out how good their healthcare really is, right? At the end of all of this, people are going to have astronomical healthcare bills.
No, let me tell you. So here in the state of Michigan, anything coronavirus related is being waived. And so I think that's the only good thing that's going to happen for them as a result of this, was because I think the way for them, it'll be handled a little better because a lot of the trial and error part has already happened. And so as they're coming into this, as it begins to get into their areas, there are a lot of things put in place for the protection of people that they will benefit from, because those protections, whereas in the cities and stuff, we had no choice but to be a bit reactionary because it just happened. And now that it's slowly spreading to the rural areas, they'll be a little bit more stable because certain things are already in place. However, I'm worried about their healthcare systems and whether or not the hospitals will have the capacity.
Yeah, well, there's a couple of things you touched on, Candice, and I agree with you in principle. You're right. They'll be able to deal with a few things in a better sense. But one of the problems we're going to have with this is that what are you going to do? Pay your bills up front? Hospital's going to charge you. They're going to take all the bills off. I mean, we know that system never really works, does it? I mean, does that really work?
I want to take a second and welcome some people that have joined us, Mike. I'm so sorry because we've been 15 minutes in. I just want to acknowledge the audience. Shardy, thank you for joining us. We greatly appreciate it. Everyone else that's tuning in, we greatly appreciate you for tuning in. Feel free to jump in. Somebody said she poisoned him, not Trump. Carl, thank you for joining us. And Carl, you got to let me know who the she poisoned him is. Go ahead.
Right. Okay. And then so even when that happens, yes, they'll have different procedures in place, things of that nature for them. But you're still going to be linked to this. They're still going to have problems. Schools are still going to be shut down. Kids still won't be getting education. People won't be getting meals. And you know, just like Trump wants to cut down the borders and close the borders, who's going to pick your food? See, we're about to have a food shortage here in a minute.
Right, a famine, if you will.
Right, a shortage on chicken, a shortage on big fruits. This is the middle of the harvest season, right?
I know. So isn't that crazy that it's like we've had a plague followed by a famine? Interesting, but go ahead.
Oh yeah, absolutely,
right.
absolutely.
I agree. Yeah.
Let me follow up with a point that Mike raised just a couple of minutes ago, Candice. He talked about the politicization of the healthcare system. And then you followed up by saying that as it relates to COVID-19 illnesses, that the healthcare system might address those concerns, right?
So I'm going to say I can't speak
from
for
a
everyone
payment standpoint,
but here in Michigan, a lot anything related to COVID-19 has already been waived. So I have not necessarily looked at what they've said federally about that. I know that they've called on the president to open the marketplace back up, have a special allowance for people to be able to try and get some health insurance or shop for some health insurance. But here in Michigan, Governor Whitmer has managed to work with DIFs and all those other agencies and to get some stuff waived as it relates to COVID-19.
So with that, Candice, I'm wondering what kind of precedent might be set as relates to that, right? Because as we said before, both Mike and Candice, this COVID-19 virus has revealed systemic disparities that exist in our society, right? So moving forward, if both of you were to look into your crystal balls, what do you think might happen as a result of that, right?
Yeah.
Because we still have the Affordable Health Care Act, and we still have some members of the GOP who want to do away or dismantle the Affordable Health Care Act.
Exactly.
What do you think about that?
And
is this a game changer?
I don't think this is a political ploy for this. It's the gift that keeps on giving. So as long as they can run with it, they'll keep screaming and hollering about the ACA because it gets their people in an uproar. Just like mentioning Hillary does that, and Biden will be the next person, and Joe Biden, lock her up, lock him up. These are the things that get their juices flowing. But this thing, once it moves and sweeps throughout the country, as it will, we're going to realize, a lot of people are going to realize they really need health care. They really need government to do the job. And I think I go on a lot of Fox News broadcasts and these sites to see what right-wingers really think. You see, Trump had to activate his shock troops and the stormtroopers because the tide is changing. I mean, really changing. I always read the comments on some of these things, and they're changing on Trump. These people are really understanding that there's a problem. He won't acknowledge it, and the Hannitys and the big dogs who spout on TV and the turf warriors, they won't acknowledge it. But people in general are getting this message, and they understand there's a serious problem in our country.
And I do want to address, Carl did respond to me. Carl said that his wife poisoned him, not Trump. Carl, it's my understanding from the story is that they both took the medication, and he ended up dying and she ended up in some pretty serious conditions. So I don't think it was a matter of anyone trying to poison a spouse. They were told by their president that they support that this could help them, and they thought that they could self-medicate. That was the understanding of the story that everyone had, Carl, but
Well, look, and here's Carl again with these straw man arguments. When we talk about this issue, if the president tomorrow says eat rat poison, and the wife takes rat poison, and her husband's in on it too, whether he gets it from her or she feeds him or whatever, the point of the matter is the president shouldn't be saying this, Carl. Let's address that point. I mean, the issue is that nobody who's a responsible person, and Trump has said he's not responsible for anything. He hasn't taken responsibility for anything except for those things that he deems have gone good for him. He has to be responsible for his language as the president of the United States of America.
Let me pose a question to both of you, Candice and Mike, since you guys are political types, right? You eat, breathe, and sleep politics, right? If you were advising Joe Biden, right? Or the DNC, as it relates to what Trump is doing right now, they have boots on the ground with these protesters, these various protesters. When you heard him put forth the refrain, let's liberate Michigan, let's liberate Minnesota, et cetera, et cetera. What would you advise your candidate to do?
Well, for me, Joe's got to be on TV every day, showing a sense of a person who's stable, a person who cares, an individual who can go toe-to-toe with the crazy nonsense. He's got to knock down the terrible theories, speak from a sense of facts, and give people a sense of hope again. He's got to take from the Obama playbook. Listen, we are going through some trying times, but there's hope at the end of this, and we're going to be a great country because of it. And if he's just busy fighting Trump, that's not going to work. He's got to give people a solid alternative and understanding he's that choice for them.
What do you say, Candice? How would you advise this candidate?
Oh, here we go. Actually, and I'm gonna tell you all, and I'm sorry. Paul was showing me how I could see the public chat. And Paul, I can see it now. A little bit.
Yeah.
And Marita, the answer to your question is, now that I'm looking at my mask a little bit, just a little bit, it does. Well, anyway, I'm sorry. She had a lipstick question.
Tell her I can answer that. I made a mistake and put on my woman's mask. I was about to, and I saw that caked up lipstick on it, and I didn't put it on. So lipstick helps.
It's not that bad. It's not that bad. And for those of you that are just joining us, I actually ended up. I had to leave my house to grab an infant, and now I can't drive, so I have to do the show from my car, but I do have my mask. I am following the executive order. So in case you're wondering what's going on with my view today. But just getting back to Vic's question of what would I advise Joe Biden to do? I think I would advise Biden to do the same thing that at this point I would advise Trump to do. Actually help people. Use your platform to help people. Use it to make sure that they're informed on the correct information. Use it to make sure that they know what's in place. A lot of people, because you have your federal CDC guidelines or whatever, then you have different states that also have some things in place. So do your best to make sure that people know what they are supposed to be doing. If they're not supposed to be having more than 10 people in there, make sure you're driving home the point. Make sure you're letting them know, hey, wash your hands. Don't, leave your house only if it's absolutely necessary, or if you must go outside, stay 6 feet away from people that do not live in your home. I mean, driving home the point of how we can be safe right now. If I'm Joe Biden, then I'm on the news and I'm talking about this $484 billion that just got passed by Congress and what that means for the American people and how that's going to help small businesses. Right now, if I'm Joe Biden, I'm doing everything I can to give people some comfort and peace, because we've had an abrupt change. And it not only is an abrupt change to our daily living, but it's an abrupt change to literally just people are losing family members. So you have to deal with the fact that you can't even mourn correctly, on top of the fact that your employment is now different. You're worried about whether or not you're going to lose your home, whether or not, if you're a business person or an entrepreneur, whether or not your business is going to go down the drain. You have to think about, what is my life going to look like after this? And I think the best thing that you can do as a leader is offer comfort and peace to people. Be as transparent as you can and give them as much information as you can. And if you don't know, be honest, because these are unprecedented times. And the least you can do is be honest, rather than give people some flimsy answers or say some crackpot thing and then come back and try to take it back. We all know, like Mike said, people have platforms, whether we agree with their platforms or not, whether we understand their platforms or not. People have people that will listen to them, people that they influence. And the thing that you need to do is be responsible with your influence and not cause people to risk their lives or damage their health and safety, or damage the health and safety of anybody else in this country as a whole.
Right.
Great answer, Candice. Mike, I think we've heard stump speech number 1 coming from Candice today.
Hey, I agree with you. Hey, well, we know you know how to write speeches and for people in high places, Candice. You got to reach out to the Biden team.
Don't get Mike started on stump speeches. No, thank you. And Carl said that Biden would never beat Trump, so don't worry about it. That's what
I hear you, Carl. It ain't about Trump. Don't worry about it, Carl. Trump's gonna beat himself.
I don't listen, Mike. The crazy part is that we're still saying this even after this man told people to maybe we can inject you with disinfectant. But I saw some posts today. Let me tell you, I saw some posts of people commenting on there saying they would still rather have him. I kid you not.
Why? Why no?
Yeah. Well, listen. Every day I have to fight back. I deal with young people a lot. And there's a lot of young people who still believe Scarface was a good guy.
Yeah, no doubt.
And even though at the end he got blown away, he was doing wrong. People still revere Scarface.
Scarface is a criminal, but this is the thing.
Scarface, the movie with Pacino, but I'm saying that we know that there was another Scarface in the 20s and 30s. And even in America, we love the bad guy, right? It is an American as apple pie. And so I would never be surprised that people love the bad guy. But
we love the bad guy, or do we love the bold guy? I think Americans are very boisterous and loud. So is it that they love his brashness and his put it in your face attitude?
No, we love the bad guy, but but in the end, we expect him to get his due, and he should lose, right? So yeah, we love the spectacle of the show. This is why the media can't stop tuning in to Donald Trump. They just love the spectacle. They want to see what crazy nonsense he's going to say next. Man, look what he's going to do next. Look, we all got friends like that. Everybody knows a Pookie and a Ray Ray, and we what's the first thing that? Man, that dude crazy.
So then, do you think
Trump is Pookie? He is Ray Ray for these folks.
So then, do you think I have a question
running the White House? I'm sorry.
I have a question for the both of you then with that. So then how much responsibility does the media play then? If the media knows that this will get them ratings, even though they know that a lot of the things that are being said are irresponsible, how much responsibility does the media have to take for this?
Well, I'm of the mind that the Trumpers are. They're all no good, right? They're all no good. If you understand that the media is about money and making a spectacle. And let's shout out to Spectacle Productions. They're making a spectacle. and they should be watching this spectacle where we sit down and talk about things in a factual manner. But they all love the spectacle. Everybody loves the spectacle, right? That's why we go to the circus. But we don't expect that everybody should go out and try to be running around with lions and tigers in the cage. You can't do that. Let the clown and let the tiger tamer do that. You shouldn't be trying to do that.
So we have
on a daily basis.
We have another comment from Carl.
Sure.
Carl said, "You guys
you're making him a celebrity, Carl. You're not a celebrity, but keep it moving."
Carl said, "You guys are clueless. Trump talks at a third grade level to be more inclusive. Trump wins because you guys are playing his game. Bad offense is better than and then it dots off. This says, play your own game is your problem. Don't hate the player, hate the game."
Now, Candice, now hold on. Hey, Carl, let me tell you this. This is where I agree with you. Candice and I have this disagreement all the time. Now, Carl, you say third grade, I say sixth grade. And so let me give them the sixth grade level. I say you do have to talk to people at a sixth grade level to get through to them. This is boys in the bathroom fighting. This is a fight on the playground. This is what this is about. And Carl, you're exactly right. And if you want to keep acting like children and like kids, this is the country that we're going to have. And Carl is a perfect example of people. They love that spectacle. But the adults have to break up the fight on the playground. The adults have to check the bathroom to make sure kids aren't fighting. And we are the adults here. The Democrats are the adults. That goes without saying. And that's why we need to make sure the adults run this thing and not let the inmates run the asylum.
We do have another comment from Shardy. He said, if Donald Trump is reelected, we can make our voices heard during the next congressional elections. And if the Democrats take both houses, then the next 4 years are going to be very interesting. So this is the thing with that, Shardy. And let me tell you why the Republican Party is very much playing chess. And the fact that I think they anticipate the fact that they are going to lose both the House and the Senate, right? They've already lost the House. So I think they're anticipating a Senate loss. So what they're doing is stacking the courts. They've already begun setting different precedents and setting different arguments. And so what's going to happen now is now they're going to fight you in a stacked court. So it's going to be even if you win both of those things and you vote or you do something or pass a bill in the way that they don't like, the Republicans that are left over, because there are always some left over, what they're going to do then is take you to the court that they've already stacked, and it's going to be ruled in their favor.
Absolutely.
That's right. And let me say this to Mr. Wagner also. Mr. Wagner, I tend to agree with you, but we have to understand sometimes with these people, we can't get complacent. And I'm gonna quote our congressional congressman in the fighting fifth, Mr. Dan Kildee. He says, listen, we have to stop being comfortable with being noble losers. Now listen to what you're saying already.
True.
I agree with that. Stop being comfortable with being noble losers. This is a fight. And we are going to beat Donald Trump's butt in this election. We ain't waiting to the congressional election. I ain't got time for that. We're whooping his butt. You, Mr. Shady Wagner, and the rest of them, we need to get out there today and right now and fight. Just like in Wisconsin, they whooped Trump's Supreme Court pick back. They whooped everybody down the line. And people got sick from it. People have probably died because of it. But believe me, as an African American, I'm saying this: people have died before the vote before. Shardy, here's your time to get out there and do your duty and get this crazy man out of the office. We ain't got time to be working on a plan B. I mean, that's fine, but we need to be working on plan A, getting him out in November.
Well, this is the thing, though. I'm telling you, those courts are being stacked as we speak.
Absolutely.
So your plan B doesn't even matter.
Mm-hmm.
Look,
doesn't matter.
Environmental laws are being slashed.
The EPA is in shambles right now.
Mm-hmm.
The EPA is in shambles. It basically does not exist.
I agree with you. They're wrecking shop as they go through. He's the bull in the china shop. And this is why we got to win the Congress. We got to win the Senate. We've got to win the presidency. We've got to sweep all of this all through again. And when Joe Biden gets in, he cannot be Mr. Nice Guy. Trump has showed us, if he hadn't showed us one thing, he showed us this. You can almost do anything. There are no laws against anything. And we're gonna roll over those Republicans like a blue wave and a tsunami.
You know, let me, and you guys are raising some great points here, but let me raise another point as it relates to the African-American community, because symbolically speaking, I think we are the nice guys and the nice gals, right? We are the ones who give our votes consistently election in, election out to the same party. And what are we getting out of it, right? As it relates to playing chess versus playing checkers, I think we're playing checkers and we need to play chess. We need to use this vote.
Don't they often say the nice guy finishes last? So I think you see what you're getting from being the quote unquote nice guy or the quote unquote nice girl. You're finishing last.
There you go. Absolutely.
The thing about finishing last in this scenario is there's nothing left for you. There's nothing left for you to glean or get or anything. I agree with the fact that there needs to be some more aggression on the Democrat side. They need to be more aggressive. Carl wasn't wrong in the fact that, you know, the way they're playing the game is just it's not in a way that works. Donald Trump, if he's done nothing else, he's come in and he's changed the game. He's come in and he's changed the way a lot of things work politically. And so the Dems have to, I mean, you're trying to play, you know, old guard with somebody that's like, I don't care about any of that.
Exactly.
You know, those rules don't matter.
Absolutely. Well, Candice, what do you say to the African-American community, though, right? Arguably, we are the most loyal base that the Democratic Party has, right? So what do you say to the African-American community? Right?
Carl said that president, in the face of 3 years of faux anger and adversity, kept his nose to the grindstone. Who is winning and getting things done?
I don't think.
Well, you know, I would disagree with that.
I mean, he's good at smoking mirrors and so forth, right? He's good at doing that. He's good at being the spectacle. He's good at utilizing the media. He knows what buttons to push, right? But the question I'm most concerned with is, as relates to the African-American community, what do we do next? That's what's most important. Trump's going to do what he's going to do. GOP's going to do what they're going to do, right? The most important question, I think, as relates to dealing with these issues, as relates to our community, is what do we do? We talk about how it's about we the people. What do the people do, right?
Well, so let's talk about the election then. If we want to talk about it like that, one of the first things we can do, and we've done this, we've seen this point. We are the reason Joe Biden is a candidate right now. So Black women, and specifically, and Black folks in general, are the reason Joe Biden is a nominee for the Democratic Party. So we can't act like we haven't had influence. We didn't go for Buttigieg. We didn't even go for the Black woman in Kamala Harris. Biden was our man, and he benefited from the Obama
legacy.
Legacy, absolutely. So we've got a say in this. So now, additionally, we've got to back our man up. Now, what we can do, I think, for to Joe Biden and other things, we can say we want a black woman on the slate. We want a black woman. Now, some people would say that's bad. Some people say that's good. But one thing I think it will do is, if it's Kamala, Stacey Abrams, or even if it's Governor Whitmer, who benefits by being put in by black folks from Detroit and Flint and other places, if you are that person that he ends up picking, we can come out and say there's no reason for the biggest base, the most loyal base, not to show up. And we want to make sure that she is speaking to our issues. Obviously, we know it's going to be a woman.
Here's something specifically for Vic that Vic is absolutely gonna love.
What's that?
Carl said that Candice Owen is a good black leader for you.
There you go.
This is what we've always had this fight all the time, right? That the one black woman that they like is stacked up against the thousands that we have. Like, hey, Carl, y'all want to put Candice Owens up in the same old, because that's all you got. We've got dozens of black women across all of the country who can stack up against Candice Owens. So if you want to keep talking about your, I won't use the word, but it rhymes with med stench. If you want to keep putting her up as the one thing you have, you go right ahead. I've listened to Candice Owens over and over again, and that's all y'all got is Candice Owens. Number one, why? Because she talks like she's a Valley girl. Number two, she articulates the dumb Trump message. And number three, she is a star because there's only a few of you. See, she's an affirmative action hire for the Republican Party. So look, don't put up your affirmative action hire. She hasn't earned the title. Maxine Waters and other people that we could talk about, even Kamala Harris and other people that have the bona fides, have been elected to position, have done the work, have been on the ground. What has Candice Owens done besides just being a mouthpiece and an affirmative action hire for the Republican Party? I don't understand it.
Carl said the red pill is good, and he knows black women in Flint that have taken the red pill. I don't know any black women in Flint that have taken the red pill, but okay.
Yeah. Well, listen. Look, Carl, you don't even want to go there with me as a black man and talk about the red pill. Theoretically, we all are like that. And if you want everybody to be on the red pill action, Carl, that doesn't speak to family values that you claim to love. That doesn't speak to people talking about taking care of the community. That speaks to individualism and me. Now, we do understand that's what Republicans are about, me, and individualism. And it's all about what I want. But what happens when we talk about the community and having schools for kids? Listen, America is great. America is great not because we've always been great. Because we've been striving to be great. We forget that sometimes. In World War I, America didn't have a great army. We had to build that. And it was built off the backs of people working in sweatshops and working in plants and making us great. Same things in the 1940s, especially in Vietnam and other places. And even now today, when you have soldiers in the military who look like me and look like you too, Carl, we are the ones who built this country. So quit acting like people like us are taking some kind of pill that's a negative pill. This blue state pill that you're talking about, we pay all the taxes. I don't know what state you're talking about. Does Alabama pay all the taxes? Does Mississippi pay all the taxes? And listen, the more Michigan starts to look like republicanism, we start to look like what we call now Mississippi, where we got bad roads, bad school systems, with last place of education, the last place in feeding kids. We don't want to be like Mississippi. That's what we all ran away from as black folks. We don't want that again. And I think what happens with people like Carl who think it's all about individualism, who's going to pay the taxes, Carl? Who's going to make sure the roads run? Who's going to make sure we buy military weapons? I think that's a problem with individuals who think like that. Some of them, if they don't want to call themselves Republicans, they like to call themselves libertarians. I'm sure Carl's going to say he's a libertarian next. And libertarianism has never worked anywhere. Ever. You can have communism that at least has worked halfway somewhere, because at least they believe in putting things together, and the state owning damn near everything. But democracy works, and we should be striving towards democracy, not towards libertarianism, where it's every man for himself. That's not what we've ever been about in America, and we've come together to make sure these states are one. That's what it's about in the Constitution. Pull out your Constitution, Carl. Let's read over it. It's not about the red pill. It's about us pill.
Speaking of the states being one, it seems like we're kind of regressing. It seems like we're turning back into territories. Because if you look at how the response to COVID-19 was handled federally, how there was no real direction or nothing that was really put in place to kind of keep us cohesively running as one, you'll see even here in Michigan. So we've got a 7-state pack going. Over in New York, they have something going. They got a regional thing going, and then there's another regional thing going. So I just think it's very interesting of how it just seems, even as it relates to just getting together and being on the same page, we've had to break down into regions and what's going to work for our regions. So I feel like this virus it's not caused some things, it's shined a light on a lot of things, and it shows how there was no effective leadership at the top, because why else would states have to move in a regional manner for certain things? But that's just my opinion.
Okay.
So Candice, that's a great point that you raised in there, right? So what might that foreshadow as it relates to the future of the American body politic? Because let me finish this point here. Because Trump, if he's shown anything, he's shown the cracks that are in the foundation of the American social political system, right? So if your point is accurate, Candice, what does that foreshadow as it relates to the American political system?
Okay, so can I address this just a little bit? I think what we're going to have to realize, and I think it is a case, that the Carls of the world and the Trumps of the world would rather burn it all down than to share it with the rest of us.
Okay.
And we've got to come to grips with that. And they'd rather have a civil war in America than for us to all be one. They'd rather have a civil rights war in America. They'd rather deny women their rights than for us to all be together as one. Remember, that's what these people are all about. And I don't listen. Why do you think they love Vladimir Putin now? He's their buddy. They love Vladimir Putin, even though he's the biggest communist on the planet, besides in China. And the only people that like China right now are Donald Trump's daughter. I don't even know how because I saw a commercial the other day where they were playing that Joe Biden is friends with China. Do you know that Donald Trump's daughter is making deals with China as we speak? And Donald Trump does not talk trash about China too much. He may say something about things on the peripheral, because his daughter has got contracts over there with China.
Yeah, did you also know that she has a patent on some voting machines? Just since we're throwing things out there.
Of course he does. Exactly. And this is what they're about. Steve Bannon, who's been Steve Bannon made his money. He's a person who advises Donald Trump every day. Right now, he's been doing it. He was in the administration. Steve Bannon made his money in China, taking Bitcoin and that kind of trading gamesmen. Like if you're a kid, you're a gamer. You get money, real money in the real world by trading, being a gamer. Well, he started that in China, where he was making money, and he started building machines with a guy named Mercer. And Mercer is a financial guy. He makes a lot of money, but he's been doing it on the backs of micro targeting stocks, where if you just got a faster machine, you can do stock moves. And this is why we see the system right now, where if you're doing micro stock movements, the stock market moves so fast and so high because everybody's just trying to get in there first. They don't have people on the stock floor anymore screaming and hollering with a ticket in their hands. They got machines that are 1/10 of 1.67 seconds faster than the other guy. And that's where you're making billions from. That's where Mercer's making his billions. He's taking his money and giving it to Steve Bannon, and they're doing subversive actions against the United States of America because they're aligned with Putin and these Russian oligarchs.
Now, I think, allow me to interject a point here, because I think both you, Candice, and Mike are raising some excellent points, right? And Candice, I want to take you back to the point that you made, because that point that you made about the division of America is an extremely important point. Both of you guys will remember this book that I kept making reference to over the past couple of years, written by an author by the name of Samuel P. Huntington, The Remaking of the Global Order, right? And the assertion, if you recall, that he was making in his book is that if America is not careful, America could become a cleft nation, and a cleft nation is a divided nation, right? Going back to your point, Candice, because really you're raising a leadership question here. You're raising a leadership question for persons who are serving in the political domain, whether it's local, state, or on the federal level. I think what this time is calling for, like none other, I would say since the Civil War, to be quite honest with you, that's how critical this time period is that we're living in. We need statespersons who are serving as leaders of these different political parties and this political structure. What would say you, Candice and Mike, about that?
I think one, I want to let Mike know that Carl did tell you that the Constitution starts out "We the People," and that Bannon was gone 2 weeks ago. Keep up.
Oh, he's still there. Y'all know that. Tell the truth. He's still there advising Trump every day. Don't think Trump doesn't have him on. Stephen Miller, Bannon. These guys are people who they're actually the globalists, because they care about a global kleptocracy. You talk about a cleft nation. Russia's already a cleft nation. They're kleptocracy. They're the oligarchs at the top who are stealing from everybody on the bottom. They have all the big ships. They have all the money. They own the oil. They own everything. And this is what they'd rather have in America than us to be a people of one, or we the people. So, we can talk about that all day.
But Mike, if what you're saying is true, the America that we've once known will cease to exist. That's really the part of the point that Samuel P. Huntington is making in his book about America becoming a cleft nation, which is a divided nation.
Hey, is that the clash of civilizations?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the subtitle was The Remaking of the Global Order. You're right. The clash of civilizations, the remaking of the global order.
See, this is the game they play. So Bannon says he doesn't exist and he's not dealing with Trump. What's the line? The biggest lie the devil ever told is to act as though he never existed. Tell you he doesn't exist. Look, we know these people exist. They are trying right now in this country. You're right, Minister Vic. They're trying to make sure that there aren't really no borders, because the border is about money. If you've got the money, if you've got that global order, you can travel from place to place to place, and you don't have to worry about being with the public. It's a privately owned everything. And we can break it down to this example. Trump has turned his private residence into a public residence. He's getting paid, but he can keep out who he wants, because it isn't the White House. It isn't Camp David. So, right? You understand what I'm saying? So he can go there, do what he wants in his spaces. This is the new order that these people love. And this is what they've always been about. And we have to fight back against this crazy new world order, where we are keeping the rich rich and keeping them in private spaces, while we wallow in the mediocrity of the broken public places. It used to be about public spaces for everybody. And we're going to a place now where it's just private places for them. I was reading a book, and I can't even remember where it was, where it said that some of these private people can get up in the morning at their private home, get in their limousines, go to a private club, send their kids to private schools, and go to private restaurants, and never have to interject in a public space besides the road.
Absolutely.
And this is what they want.
That's a great point, because Mike, what you're making reference to now then is a socioeconomic shift in American society. Yes. And this is what they want. They're okay with that.
So they tell you the other is the problem. The Mexicans are the problem. You black folks catching COVID and y'all don't know how to deal with this. That y'all the problem. When the problem is these rich folks. Listen, who's making the push to go back to work? I know it ain't you, Minister Vic. It ain't me. It ain't Candice.
That's right.
Who's making the push to go back to work? Listen, if we don't spend, if we're not out there making the goods that they want, they don't eat. They can't buy bigger yachts. They can't go and build bigger bunkers so they can hide in when it all goes down. Yes, they would be. I think someone will be okay with some type of civil war. And we can't put it past us. Listen, what's going to happen in November? Does anybody know? And you talk about what Joe Biden should be doing. We should be making a full-fledged push towards making sure voting is by mail.
Wow.
Trump would rather tear open the post office, which is in the Constitution, by the way, Carl. The post office is in the Constitution. Trump would rather make the post office fail than to hold it up because he doesn't want voting by mail, even though he voted by mail in Florida.
I was just going to say that as you brought up the pushing the voting by mail, Trump actually said today that unless the post office decided to charge bigger companies like Amazon and whomever, and he kept specifically mentioning Amazon for some reason, but unless the post office he said that unless that they decide to charge them more for the packaging, that he wasn't going to and keep in mind, I'm going to tell you how he did this and why he was trying to be slick. He goes, charge the companies more, not the American people. But he said, unless you charge them more for having to drop off their packages, then I won't sign anything to give you any more money. And I'm just thinking, if you're telling the post office to charge all of these companies more to deliver their packages, who do you think they're going to pass the cost off to? Like, don't talk around the fact that you basically just said, make the American people pay you, and if you really want some more money. If you don't, because he was arguing that the post office is losing billions of dollars and blah blah blah, and you needed to charge companies more. What that boils down to is I don't want to have to keep paying for you on a federal level, so we're gonna put you into a corner where you got to make the American people pay for you, as if the American people aren't already paying tons of other things and taxes and everything else.
Well, see, that's a good question you brought up. Listen, you're right on point, Candice. You talk about a pill. Okay, let's talk about the poison. The reason the post office, and they're not in trouble. Let's get this straight. The post office is making plenty of money, but the Republicans put in a poison pill, and you could say a poison red pill, Carl. They put in a poison pill where the post office has to pay up its insurance and its employees up for 75 years. Now, what company does that?
Right.
But it was a poison pill to put a burden on the back of the post office. All they have to do, just like Social Security, the lie they have to tell about Social Security. Social Security is not insolvent. It could be solvent if we did one little thing. When we raise the point which you pay Social Security taxes, and we raise it from $140,000, I think it is, or whatever, to $500,000, the Social Security would be solvent for the next 50 years, right? If we did just one thing. But nobody rich who makes over $140,000 a year or $500,000 a year wants to get taxed just to $500,000. They don't even want that. This is what these people do. But on top of it, we'll get back to the post office. So let's talk about Bezos for a minute. Amazon is making money hand over fist. They're paying the post office what their rates would be, and the post office could be very solvent. But Trump hates Bezos because he bought the Washington Post. So the Washington Post is a nemesis to Trump because they keep telling the truth about his crazy antics. So that's why he hates Bezos, even though, he kind of hates the post office now because of mail. He hates anybody who goes against him. So Bezos and Amazon, don't get me wrong now, Amazon should be paying its people more. They should be better stewards to the workers. But Bezos and the rest of them have at least, he's kept his hands off of the post and let him do his job. And Trump can't intimidate them like he can other people who rely on money, because Bezos got plenty of money to go back into the post. So that's a personal problem. But the post office is making plenty of money. They could be solvent if we did one thing by just letting them pay up their retirement rates just like everybody else does, not 75 years in the future. But that's the poison pill that the red pill Republicans put in place to kill the post office, which is in the Constitution.
Shardy says that Samuel Huntington is absolutely correct about the danger of our country transitioning into a type of country like Russia. I've even noticed that the people in his administrative team are both multi-million and multi-billionaires. And most of them are over various entities to where they have absolutely no experience in it at all. And that, in my opinion, is very dangerous, and that concerns me.
You're on point, Mr. Wagner. You're right on point. Yes.
Right Candice, I think we're starting to wind down here. What are your parting thoughts?
I think though, like the bottom line in all of this, even in you pointing out why he kept saying Amazon specifically, like he kept saying Amazon today. He would go Amazon and these other companies, but he kept specifically saying Amazon. And I think one of the things that we have to pay attention to is watch who he's attacking specifically and see what their connection is and see how much against his interest it is. That's a good thing, a good takeaway for today.
Yeah, Candice, you know what? We might not have time to answer this question. Maybe we will next week. But with all these shenanigans taking place via the Trump administration, what is actually taking place behind the scenes, right?
Oh, you want to talk about Jared Kushner running that medical scam or whatever right alongside? So you've got a shadow operation going on as far as these ventilators are concerned. Of course, you have Vice President Pence, who's working hand in hand with the governors out in public. But behind the scenes, you have Jared Kushner and his buddies in there, and they're making monies off of these ventilators and everything as well. So if you want to talk about the shadow and what's going on there as far as coronavirus, let's talk about the fact that the president's son-in-law, who shouldn't even have a position in the White House at all, period, doing anything, is running a little shadow operation, getting all of his buddies' money off of this virus.
My goodness.
Look, Jared still doesn't have a security clearance. He still doesn't have a security clearance, and he's making decisions at the highest levels of the government. Are we kidding ourselves?
How's he getting away with that, though, Mike? How's he getting away with that, though?
Well, I know with my black behind, when I was in the military, I had a secret security clearance. My security clearance is higher than Jared Kushner's. And this man is running everything right now.
And there it is on the screen. Paul did put it on the screen how Jared Kushner's family is cashing in on the COVID-19 testing. Thank you, Paul.
Wow. And of course, and his family was in debt. Keep in mind that his family was $600 million in debt when Trump became president.
And
$600 million in debt.
Did you see how they forced someone into taking that property in New York off of his hands? We can talk about that as well. That property that wouldn't sell. The 666 property.
The 666 property.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That's the address to the property, Vic. That's the address.
Hey, Minister Vic, they out here cold with it, man. They out and open, man.
No doubt.
And I do want to say, Carl wanted to leave you all with this parting thought. Carl said Trump controls the news cycles. There you go.
Well, and
he's got a point, though. He's got a point, though, from a ratings perspective. I would agree with that.
Hey, Carl, that's the first right thing you said all day. Keep it coming.
Right. I mean, even the way that he was handling the media in the press conference today, when the media was saying to him, you did tell people to inject, inject themselves, or that we should look into injecting them. And he goes, hey, who are you? Where are you from? Slow down. And then he started talking to somebody else. So, but we have literally 1 minute left, less than 1 minute. Give me 2 seconds of parting words. Go.
Yeah. Well, let me say this, Minister Big, and I'm gonna let you wrap it up in a bow. I want to thank people like Carl coming in. This is a wonderful dialogue that you've offered, Candice, on your show. This is a tragedy we're going through now, but I also want to give a shout out to so many people that we've lost in this. Leslie Connor, my buddy Keno Connor's son, Karen Blackwell Vickers. There's so many that we're losing to this. This is a major problem in our country, and we want to remember those that are the fallen.
Absolutely. And I want to just encourage everyone, because certainly these are some very difficult times that we're living in. I want to encourage everybody to keep the faith and remember that the race doesn't go to the swift or the strong, but to he or she who endures unto the end.
All right, and I just want to remind everybody to pay attention to the federal guidelines that you get, CDC, as well as any state guidelines that you might get. And if you have any questions, if you live in the state of Michigan, catch me tonight on my Facebook Live, Candice Mushatt, for No Neighbor Left Behind COVID Community Conversations. And we can talk a little bit about the Michigan stay-at-home order that was expanded until the 15th. But as of right now, we are out of here. So catch me tonight at 9 o'clock on Facebook Live. Thank you for tuning in. We'll be back live again next week at 5 p.m. With Whose Opinion Is It Anyway? We want to thank our special guest, Michael Harris, for joining us. And you've been watching Whose Opinion Is It Anyway with Candice
and Victor.
All right. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Peace.